Hi, guys.
How you doing?
So, so you guys are venture capitalists.
What?
Here it says. Now, this guy used to work for you, and then he went off.
Just, yeah.
He used to work with you, Brian, and then he left.
AKA Coach.
Yeah. And are you guys going to interrupt? Like, I usually, you know.
We will.
Yeah. I've known you guys too long. Anyway, so Brian went off, did startup, and got acquired by Airbnb, but now he's back. And so what does that mean?
I mean, he's rejoining the team. It's getting the band back together. He's going to be a general partner at the firm.
Yeah.
And so he and I and Kevin Carter, Topher Conway, Robert Pollock.
All here.
You're all general partners.
No,
Yeah.
Well, if somebody sues us, it's Brian and me that's on the hook. So we're the general partners, yeah.
No, but so when Brian left, you sort of stepped up, right, and became the guy, leader among many great guys. Now Brian's back. You've moved to LA. Does that mean that today you're announcing that you're retiring from being a venture capitalist? Or are you guys sharing power, or
sharing power?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in San Francisco, probably more than I was when I was in Palo Alto, just because.
Right.
Somehow it's easier, and I'm there 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And Brian is there full time, so nothing really changes.
Okay. So you have.
So I'm not retiring.
You have 5 partners.
5 partners, yeah.
And your current fund is. I'm an investor, but I don't actually remember how big it is.
40 million.
Okay. And that feels right, or are you hiring more?
Yeah, that feels right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let me start off with this, because this kind of pissed me off when Chamath said this the other day, and then we can go on to other stuff as well. But I don't know if you guys saw, but Chamath was on stage on, I think, Monday, and he said that innovation, a lot of the startups are just really stupid. Innovation's dead.
Not a good audience for that.
Do you guys agree? I mean, are things just getting kind of stupid out there, and the really interesting problems aren't being attacked, or do you disagree?
I mean, I don't agree. I mean, I would actually say in the last 12 to 18 months, ideas are bigger, bolder, sort of more ambitious. I mean, I think 12 to 18 months ago, a lot of the startups were doing something in social, local, mobile. And that's not a knock on them, but now you're definitely seeing more sort of a bigger or larger diversity of ideas. I mean, we just invested in a drones company, or companies that are attacking scientific research. You know, there's a company called Quartzy, and what they're doing is creating software for labs, enabling basic research. So I don't necessarily agree, and I actually think some of the ideas are more creative in the last 12 to 18 months.
We just, in the last 6 months, have adopted 2 new target sectors to invest in. We're about to add a third that David can talk about. But education has massive amounts of innovation being applied to it right now. And then we have this sector called the Internet of Things, where you have hardware devices communicating constantly with the web. Awesome entrepreneurs like Sean Fanning, who I sat in for yesterday here, that's all he's spending his time on, is the Internet of Things. That's a sector that's, it's like a year old. And then there's a new sector that we're defining called health informatics. I want David to describe it, because he's a cancer survivor, and this is a space that's really relevant.
The basic idea is, if you think about the sort of explosion of genomic and genetic data, then you think about all the medical data that's being digitized. I think there can now be breakthroughs in how people are treated. And basically, you look at last 10 years, Google helped motivate a generation of computer scientists to study advertising and turn that into a computer science problem. And I think there's a chance to turn biology into a software problem. And that, we think, is really exciting. So that's just another idea or trend and you see founders sort of gravitating to that. So they're attacking sort of big, hard, important, and hopefully valuable problems.
Yeah. Okay.
So innovation is not dead.
That's,
Coach?
Yeah, I'm still bullish on consumer innovation as well. Things like Vine, although they were acquired by Twitter.
Okay, so you're the fun guy, right?
Yes.
The stuff that David just trashed is like a year ago, Twitter, But no, you're the guy who's focused on
That's
stuff
what I like
that
to
most
focus
people
on.
would consider interesting.
Correct.
Right.
So things like Snapchat, I think it's a new messaging platform. There's a lot of things we saw.
Are you a Snapchat user?
I am.
Yeah. What kind
I
of
can
pictures?
attest to
What
that.
do you use it for mostly?
You know, it's typically used for communication, just pictures of my face with a little message to my friends and family, or a quick snapshot of what I'm doing, the outward facing. A lot of the characteristics of what I saw in Daily Booth when I joined, I think, are actually present now in Snapchat, a mobile-first picture messaging platform.
Okay.
It's massive. It's going to be massive. It's the quickest way to send a message.
Now, when you guys are sitting around the office, is it like you're like, hey, Snapchat, and there's some other fun thing, and David's like, screw that, this biology stuff, or what? Is it? Do you guys actually have arguments about it? Or?
Health informatics.
Yeah.
Health.
Health informatics. Is that you like? Is that
I like it. So
Do you actually argue, or is like,
no,
are we
we
gonna,
don't argue.
Or you just do them all?
we just do them all, and
Yeah.
I mean, Ron mentioned a couple of others that we focus on, and we're not turning into sort of biologists. I mean, none of us are biologists. It's just another sort of column. You've seen our chart.
But you wrote a blog post about how this is the new focus is medical stuff.
It's a new focus in the same way that education or Internet of
It's a new
Things is
it's a new
focus.
sector.
But don't
new
you only get
sector.
one focus? Isn't that like a focus?
No, we have
is
about
like
We have
8 sectors we invest in,
yeah.
8. You have 8 focuses.
8 trends.
Okay, so you have
Only internet software,
Yeah.
so it's
Okay.
we're disciplined.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean to laugh at that, but you have internet. 8. You know what? Honestly, it doesn't matter. With 8 sectors, it's everything. If there's an interesting startup, you're going to invest in it if you can. Yeah.
It's usually consumer focused and then also software focused, and that's the big thing in this health informatics area. It's got to be a software engineer that's focusing on this.
Okay, so a hot enterprise startup, not really interested in looking
No,
at that?
we would look at it. Yeah.
Okay, so
We
it's,
might
it's,
have to call it big data because that's one of our sectors.
Yeah.
What my point here is that this is all bullshit, right? Because it's like, well, we only like consumer startups unless they're enterprise startups too, right? But so like
First and foremost, we invest in teams.
Yeah. I mean,
So if it's a
now
great
we're getting
enterprise
to it.
team,
So yeah, you're looking for the right team.
the right
Yeah.
team,
And
solving
then once
the
you
right
make
problem.
investments, you categorize them and say we're focusing on this, right? So
in a way, yeah. I mean, these themes or these trends, they're like bottoms up. Like from the opportunities that come in, if we see a cluster of founders working in a particular area,
So your
then we'll say, hey,
focus
this is where sort of the direction of technology is going, and then we'll focus some time there. We'll talk to the entrepreneurs, and we'll get a better sense of where things are headed.
I think Coach is right. The umbrella for SV Angel is we invest in great founders, and great founders build great internet software companies.
or other companies.
Software companies.
Mostly
The
software.
ones we invest in, software typically.
Okay.
You get a kick out of this.
I mean, obviously, you guys, and I'm as an angel investor, I state this willingly that you guys are the leading light of angel investors. I mean, we love investing with you. We look to you for guidance. You've helped us with raising our fund, et cetera. So with all due respect, there's just a lot of bullshit when it comes down to like, we're focused on this when the focus has never changed. If there is a sexy hot startup, you want to invest in it. And then you look, and by the way, this discussion is absolutely not going the direction that we had intended it to, and I'm sorry for that. But it's just, I think that's the truth. And sometimes I think, people are like, oh, I gotta go do a medical startup now and I'll get SV Angel funding. And what you really mean is, you don't know where the next hot startup is coming from, but the right people create those companies and then change them when they need to because they're smart enough to do it. And that's what you want. You want to invest in that, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's accurate.
All right, so we're in agreement and we can end early, I guess. So. Can we talk about, so Ron, you're, in addition to being the most important angel investor in the history of angel investing, and I don't think that's an exaggeration at all, you're doing all kinds of stuff, like with gun control and immigration, and you're running for mayor of San Francisco, and so
Not doing that one. We have a great mayor already.
Right. So
He's awesome. He actually gets the sharing economy.
And I know,
And that
you've
you can't
denied
stop
before that you're
innovation.
running for mayor, but clearly mayor of San Francisco is going to be a job for you at some point. But we don't need to talk about that now. Tell me about immigration reform, because that to me seems the most relevant to this audience. How do we fix this?
Yeah, for sure, immigration reform is super relevant to this audience. And I've been active in immigration reform, I would say, for 3 years. But the two people that got me involved in immigration reform and are still thought leaders in the sector, another sector, right? I just look at all of these as sectors, is Paul Graham and Fred Wilson.
Yeah.
And they were advocates for the Startup Visa Act.
Yeah.
And now that's just leading up to the main act, which is comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah.
It's in the U.S. Senate right now. There's this gang of 8 U.S. senators who are carrying the bill in the Senate. Then it'll go to the House. If we're lucky, this country will have comprehensive immigration reform by the end of this year.
And what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going to let all the Canadians come in and take our jobs?
All the what?
Canadians.
Oh, no. It means the allocations for H-1B visas go up. What's more important is kids who were born in America.
Who are American citizens.
Who should be American citizens are not. That those kids will have a path to citizenship.
Wait, I thought if you're born in the U.S., you're an American citizen.
No, not if you're brought into the country. If
After
the answer is yes to that.
Right.
If your parents bring you in, and you're not, then you are not a U.S. citizen.
Right.
So you probably can't get into college, get a good scholarship.
Okay. So you want to say if you're born in another country and your parents like rush you across the border and set you down, that you want that person to then sort of be taken care of by the government for the rest of their lives?
No,
that's not
be taken care of, but
Okay.
have a path to citizenship, and this bill will provide for that path.
So, and I'm all in favor of that. I mean, I actually am very pro. I mean, I feel like there are many people in the world that deserve to be here, whether they're rich, poor, smart, or dumb. I mean, America is a melting pot. So I joke a little bit about this, but what I really care about is the people coming over and going to college here, and then getting their major in computer science, and then bailing for home because they can't stay here. What I really care about is making this the most attractive place for tech-minded people in the world to come and live. Is this going to address that at all?
Yes.
Okay.
It addresses that issue head on and solves it. If someone goes to school here, they, upon getting their diploma, the saying is the government, the U.S., will staple a green card to their diploma, so that they do not have to exit.
Now, how is this going to pass the House? Because the Republicans look at what you're talking about and they say, we're going to be overrun with Democrat voting Mexicans, right? And so they're not going to want to do this. So how are they going to squeak it through the House?
Well, in the last election, I think what's going to help is in the last election, the Hispanic vote shifted from Republican to Democrat.
Yeah.
And that's why we probably have a unique political opportunity to get comprehensive immigration reform passed.
And when will this? What do you think? Do you think this will happen this year? And that next year we'll be able to start getting more?
I hope it'll happen this session of Congress.
Yep.
Which goes for over another year, but I'm hoping it happens in the next 6 months. But that's hard to predict.
Yep.
But the tech community is going to need to get involved and become advocates.
How can they help?
There's an organization called Forward.us that Mark Zuckerberg and a group of tech leaders, I'm one of the founders of this group, that we started just in the last 60 days to kind of help, turbocharge the last lap of what's been a 3-year campaign.
Okay.
And we do intend to employ a lot of social media tactics and techniques in the final days of the campaign as we identify congressmen and senators who we want to encourage to vote for this.
Yeah.
We'll put the political process to work.
You're actually creating a bit of a political machine here, it looks like, to me. I don't really know
whatever it takes to get the job. Whatever it takes to get the job done.
Like, what do you like? You cruise into D.C. and do you get a fancy hotel room and you start spreading the money around? Like, how do you get what you want done in D.C.?
Well, last week I actually went to D.C. with MC Hammer.
Right.
And MC Hammer's a great. MC Hammer is actually an awesome spokesperson for the tech community.
Yeah.
MC Hammer gets tech. He also, I'm the first to admit, he also gets people to listen better.
Yeah.
when we went in and met senators and congressmen, I do feel, because I had MC Hammer as an advocate, they go, so, we're like the odd couple, so what do the two of you want? And we say, hey,
But this is boring. This is actually just talking to people and trying to convince them through rhetoric. What I want to understand is, where are the big slush funds, and where does the, like, do you give the senators cash when you want their vote, or how does that work?
No, they don't even let us pay for lunch.
So it's fairly legitimate what you're doing then.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
I just look at government as this thing that stops us from doing things in Silicon Valley, and I don't know how you can stand it.
I think the tech community has to stop doing that. And,
and
if we get immigration reform, we can point to something that the tech community accomplished together.
Right.
With all the other advocacy groups. There's many, many other advocacy groups for this issue. Tech's just one of them.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for tech to be present and really help influence what's going to be a great outcome.
Yeah. Okay, so that's immigration. What about the gun collection stuff you're working on? You want to get all the guns out of America?
No.
No. Okay.
If somebody owns a gun, that's their business. I don't own a gun. But what we're trying to do is pass background checks for guns. There's a gun show loophole whereby if you go to a gun store, you get a background check. That store owner is required to do that. There's a loophole that if you go to a gun show, an ad hoc gun show, they're usually traveling, shows, you can buy a gun there without a background check.
Yeah.
Well, what's fair about that? And why have a law when there's a gaping
So that's all you want
loophole?
to do is get background checks for every gun purchase.
That is all we're trying to do. That failed in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
And, that was round one. We started round 2 minutes after the Senate voted to try and turn that around. We're only 5 votes short. So I think the Senate is in recess this week, and I hope that the advocates talk to their senators this week. Every senator who voted against the background checks, polling plummeted last week, as it should, and every senator who voted for background checks, their polling skyrocketed. Senator Toomey has the highest polling he's ever had in his life, and he's a Republican senator who co-sponsored the bill with Senator Manchin.
Okay.
So everyone knows 90% of the U.S. population wants background checks. What's the mismatch with the Senate not paying attention to the people?
Yeah.
And I hope that'll change this session of Congress as well. I feel like we're on Face the Nation or something.
Yeah. So you are a well-known angel investor who is pro-immigration and pro some gun reform. I'll ask the audience, if Ron was running for the mayor of San Francisco, assume that you live there, would you vote for him? Raise your hand.
Thank you.
Well, hold on.
Ask the New Yorkers that if we were in New York.
I asked, are you pro not letting people have sugary drinks and salt on the table?
That's not.
You love Bloomberg. I know you. I know you. In fact, you've told me, and this might be personal, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to say anyway. You've told me that you've written him in as a presidential candidate when you vote for the last couple of times you voted, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're.
I admire the mayor of New York.
Yeah. So okay. I don't actually. I'm more of a guy that's like, if somebody wants to drink, 85 ounces of sugary soft drink, they should be allowed to. But I don't care that much about it.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't care that much about it either, and I think there's bigger fish to fry. I'm not sure that legislators should get into that.
Can we talk about startups again?
I'd love to. If you didn't say that, I would have said, I'm not talking anymore.
Let me ask you guys a random question about Facebook. I had written about Facebook a couple of years ago, and I said that this is, that we were approaching the age of Facebook. We had the age of Google, we had the age of Microsoft, and we have a decade of Facebook dominance. I'm not so sure I believe that anymore, and in particular, I noticed that high schoolers and college kids seem to think of Facebook as their parents' social network. What do you guys think about this? Are they more vulnerable than maybe they would have been otherwise?
Let's have the youngest member of the.
So I think it's a utility, but I don't know if it still has the same fun that college students felt on it in 2004, 2005 when it was starting. I think new mobile social apps like Instagram, Vine, Snapchat, things like that are where those behaviors are persisting, whether or not it's in one network or dispersed across a couple apps as a function of how we use the phone rather than a laptop could be the reason for it. But those are where I think some of the fun behaviors in high school students are kind of spending their time.
Do you think there's a chance that Facebook pulls a MySpace at some point in the next couple of years, or no?
I don't think.
And by that I mean self-destruct and die.
No, I think MySpace was a lack of product innovation. Facebook continues to innovate and be a very stable product that everyone now relies on. It's a utility that's entrenched, so it's not going anywhere. But in terms of the same behaviors that people who were younger used and appreciated on it back in the day, I don't think that necessarily exists there in the same way it did when it started.
Plus, MySpace didn't have identity.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Not genuine identity. It had usernames, or it was more bands or public profiles. It was a different architecture.
Yeah, Facebook got it right when they authenticated people's identity.
Yeah, killing any kind of ability to remain anonymous.
Yeah, you have to do that elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. And what about Twitter? So, is Twitter going to be a massive company, maybe bigger than Facebook someday? Do you think Twitter is going to stay sort of mediocre? What do you think?
It's hard to say what.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but that's what I'm asking. Like, what do you think? Like, make a solid guess of what you think.
I think Twitter becomes more and more entrenched in our daily lives as every event around us occurs. It's actually becoming part of the story and ingrained. Okay. So I think it's becoming the place you go to look to search for real-time information. Yeah. And as everybody wants to consume things and learn about things, it's just going to be there, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow in its importance. It's a different type of utility than Facebook, but it's equally powerful.
Okay, how about this? How about Yahoo? Will Marissa make Yahoo interesting again? And by that I don't mean
she already has.
But hold on, let me ask the full question. It's like I don't know if I want to say this, but I'm going to. I spent a few minutes with Marissa backstage. She was here, I guess, 2 days ago to judge the startups, and so what's going on at Yahoo and this. And she showed me a really cool mobile app, and it was great. But it's sort of like, okay, what else you got? You're Yahoo, right? And so, can she turn that around and become a dominant cultural force again? So, what do you think?
I mean, I think so. I think the thing that Marissa brings is a lot of engineers. She has the background as a computer scientist, somebody who's worked at Google, and I do think engineers flock to people who are trying to work on big problems. That's a big part of it, and it sounds sort of qualitative and fuzzy, but engineers want to go where there are big problems, big audiences, and I think it's really important to have somebody like that.
And Brian, what do you think?
I think possibly it's a 15, 20-year-old company?
Possibly. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so you're all agreed. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Let me ask this.
The signs are already there.
Yeah.
Tell me another company that's turned it around.
Yahoo. Back in they went through ups and downs, and they came back. So
when?
Mid-90s. So they had the down.
Well, mid-90s is when Yahoo was formed.
eBay's doing well.
Excuse me. Yeah. They went.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's the only example. Apple, right? Apple did it.
Apple.
And Apple did it because of Steve Jobs. So are you saying Marissa Mayer is equal to Steve Jobs? I don't know. She's impressive. I don't know, though. This is tough. And I don't think Yahoo ever had Apple's level of...
I do think she's the type of person that's going to attract talent. And again, that's really important that's a starting point for any great tech company.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like there's
eBay's had a great turnaround. eBay's...
There you go.
eBay? You keep saying eBay, but eBay's awful, right? I mean, it's just a network effect entrenched.
Not necessarily. They're
awful
innovating
thing.
with the eBay Now.
I don't even know what that is.
It's
no one knows
on-demand
what that
commerce.
is.
No, but eBay is another example.
No,
I
it's
know
not.
we're forgetting names of other companies. eBay is one of them.
That but eBay never fell, right? And thank God they have PayPal, but I don't see that as, I think Apple is the only example, and that came from the audience. So raise your hand. Oh, Stephen Levy. So, yeah. Nothing else. I just think it's really, really tough to turn these, battleships around, and it'll be interesting to see. And it turned out they were like awesome, right? The anti-portfolio stuff. Like,
Have we ever passed on any companies?
Yeah, you're like, nah, and then it turned out that was Facebook, right? So there's got to be one or two of those.
There's, my friends Brian and Joe and Nate at Airbnb. Michael Siebel introduced me to them on the phone.
Yeah.
We didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
So
What else?
there are some.
Kickstarter?
I met.
You passed on Kickstarter?
That was not.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't Coach's shit.
Let's check the email.
I met Drew at General Catalyst's office before he entered YC via an introduction through Chris Dixon.
Drew,
This is Dropbox.
Through Dropbox.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't quite pass. There was some a learning lesson about valuation, about people being too concerned with valuation that led us to not move forward with it. But it's.
I've always found the most confident, successful VCs are actually very willing to talk about the ones they missed. So I don't-
Salesforce.com.
Yeah. Well, that was like
If
20
Mark
years
Benioff
ago.
spoke, he would mention that to everybody.
Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's
a pleasure.
And appreciate your time. Right.
Thank you, Mike.